There, that is set up, and welcome. Good. I always like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening because we have a global uh, a global audience, and there's people that call in from all kinds of different locations. So it's great to see many of you here. And I'm just going to flip over and ask a favor of Sandra. When you see Mark Bowles show up on our list, can you let me know, because I need to make him a panelist. So just let me know that, and I'll try to keep my eyes on the, I'm going to move the chat thing over. So, okay, so today we're going to be talking about the business of coaching. And so first of all, what I'd like to do is just mention a little bit about me and what gives me really basically the right to be standing here and talking to you about this topic. I've been in coaching a long time, and I'm an absolute raging, passionate advocate for coaching. I want people to be certified coaches. I want to equip managers and leaders in organizations with coaching skills that they can use as part of their leadership. I basically want everybody to learn coaching skills. And when I got started, it was in the early days of coaching, and I became very involved in the growth of the coaching profession. And by the way, it was not a profession, and it is still, I would say, an emerging profession. And there's credentialing, there's certification, there's ethics and standards and competencies and all kinds of things that have been created to support this growing profession. And I've been quite involved in that in a variety of ways. And you can, as you can see everything about me on my bio that is up in front of the screen. And I guess the other thing is that I founded Coaching Out of the Box as well, which is how you're coming in. And we have a number of things that we offer to people to support that as well. So that's a little bit about me. And Mark is here, so I want to be perfect timing, because I want to promote Mark, who has agreed to also participate, and there may be others as well. Just bear with me, I'll do that. I have done that, so I am going to move the slide across and just introduce Mark. And Mark, if we can actually see your face, if your webcam is operating, we can just start the video. He's coming in momentarily. There he is. And I am delighted to have Mark here as well as one of our panelists, because Mark, you can keep your face there. You don't have to go black or dark screen or whatever. Anyway, Mark is a longtime coach, and I had the honor and privilege of meeting Mark a number of years ago when he was going through a coaching program that I was leading, actually. So, and Mark has long roots in coaching, and as you can see from his information. And Mark, would you just say a couple of things about yourself?
Well, I'm just catching my breath because we just finished doing a Train the Trainer course.
Oh, right.
So I'm 1 minute removed from the Train the Trainer course.
Okay.
So wonderful. So okay. Back in the virtual world.
Thank you.
No, you know what? I think what you've got here is sums it up really beautifully, and I love what I do. I feel very blessed. Every conversation I have with somebody in regards to coaching to me is a gift, to be able to get into that space that somebody's willing to share and willing to create a shift of where they want to go. So I'm very blessed to do this work for sure.
Well, good. Well, thanks. Well, as this unfolds, first of all, I want to encourage people to certainly comment in the chat, and it may be at a point where I might see some of your comments, or Sandra might make me aware of them, and I'll try to pay attention, because there is brilliance in the people who are attending this webinar today. And there may be a point at which I might call on you to say something. So, you know, don't be on tender hooks, actually. You can say no, but there may be things you might want to add to our, it's a discussion today. We are talking about the business of coaching. And so I welcome your participation, your comments in the chat area. And also, before I forget, I also want to introduce Sandra Mall. And Sandra Mall, and she can maybe show her face for a moment if it's possible. Sandra is just managing the activity. There she is. And Sandra is our fabulous operations person here at Coaching Out of the Box. I mean, she could basically do anything and everything, and does. And she will support us as we move through the webinar. So she'll be monitoring the chat area, and possibly if anybody's having some sort of difficulties, hopefully if there's a problem, she might be able to support you in that as well. And so for today, and this is always the case whenever we do these webinars, whenever we do anything, is that you leave with value. That what is going to make it worth your time. So you've obviously read about what we're talking about, or seen our newsletter, or some sort of communications, and you are interested in learning more. So it is my sincere wish that you walk away saying, I am really glad I came today. I got something or some things that were of value. We're going to talk about the biggest challenges faced in the business of coaching. We're going to talk about mistakes to avoid, and we're going to talk about strategies for success. And we may bounce a bit. It just, these things, sometimes I can't really easily know for sure exactly how it will go. And as we move through this, you may have questions. So it's not like the questions are just one particular spot. They may come as this webinar unfolds. So please, we welcome your questions. We may not be able to answer them. We may need to defer. I don't know. But we'll do our very, very best. So that's what we're wanting to do here today. And this whole topic, and why I wanted to do this webinar, and there's so many pieces to this. The business of coaching is a big, big topic. But recently, the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation, released a global coaching study that they did in 2016, or they released it in 2016. And this was conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers. You can see that on this slide. And there's some juicy things in this, or things that I think can be of value, because one of the things that I have found as I've watched the growth of coaching, as I myself work through my own particular challenges, as I've worked with numerous coaches all over the world who got into coaching and wanted to create their own coaching businesses, or certainly wanted to be doing coaching as a major part of the work they do, there's challenges. And I want to support people's success as best as we can here at Coaching Out of the Box, and in doing this. So anyway, this particular study done by the ICF, hiring PricewaterhouseCoopers, was the largest, or I would say the most ambitious to date. As you can see, they had over 15,000 survey responses from 137 countries. Previous, and that was back in 2012 when they did a survey, they had, as you can see, just over 12,000. The thing that's interesting as well is that the coaching continuum, years ago it just basically included people who were creating coaching businesses. Now it includes coaching practitioners, managers, and leaders who are using coaching skills, as well as, now where's my note, because this is, I think this is really interesting. They also, hang on a second, I've just got to get to my notes here. External coaching practitioners, people who are completely focused on doing this as their own coaching business. We've got internal coaching practitioners who are doing it in their work. We've got both external and internal, meaning they're doing both. And we've got also HR, talent, and development people using coaching. And we've also got a manager leader who uses coaching skills. And that just reminds me, I have a poll. Because what we want to do today is also get a sense of who is attending today. And hopefully that will help us as we move through this webinar. So what I am going to do is I'm going to launch the poll, and I would request that as best you can answer these. There's basically just 3 questions. Are you a credentialed coach? How long have you been in coaching? Where are you on the coaching continuum? And I'm just going to, hopefully I can see, hopefully people can see this. Oh, good, Grace, I can see people are starting to answer. This is great because it helps us know what's the makeup of our webinar today. And as you're taking this, I'm going to carry on a bit more with what came out of this study, and that the average annual revenue, and this is worldwide, okay, so there's a bit of, it's not an exact figure, but approximately 51,000 US dollars is the annual revenue people achieve from coaching. The global revenue, which I also think is another incredible piece of information, is $2.356 billion. And that is, and this is what's also interesting, is that there's a 19% increase over the 2011 estimate. So what I'm trying to say is it's growing. So the resources that are being allocated for coaching, whether it's internal within organizations, they're using internal, they're using external, there's a blend, et cetera, are growing. People are investing more and more in coaching. That is good news for all of us who are in the coaching arena. I am going to just give it another moment or two for a few more people to complete the survey. And the other thing that came out of this was that the survey is that they expect their coaches to be certified or credentialed. These are terms that get moved around quite a bit. So that's what came out of that study. And I think this is a very, very brief synopsis of it. What I've asked Sandra to do, and I hope she's got it, and if she doesn't, that's okay, is to put in the chat, this is the perfect timing to do that, the link to the study that you can, the synopsis of the study that you can download if you're interested. She will put that in there, and then if she has it, and then also we will include it in the follow-up email, because there's a lot more than what I said here on this slide. And I'm just wondering, Mark, did you see that study?
Yeah, yes, I did, Allison, and it really, the progress and the development is really, it's definitely encouraging within within the profession of coaching as a profession, as a recognized profession. So it's really encouraging.
Right. Good. Yes, it is very encouraging. And out of this, which will support us in talking about strategies to succeed, et cetera, is what were the challenges, or what were another term they use quite a bit is obstacles. And so this is what this study came up with. Untrained individuals. This was a concern, is that there's a number of people who are untrained, saying they're coaches. And in this study, there's a concern about that. I found that quite interesting, that this is becoming more and more of a, or it seemed to be in this study, quite a significant comment that was being made. There's a bit of marketplace confusion about coaching. And then I added this one in because I think the way the study was organized, it probably wasn't hitting on this one as much, but I also feel very strongly that the other biggest obstacle or challenge, maybe is another term, is attracting for those people, whether you're internal or external, but even more so external, in building a business, in building a successful coaching business, or certainly in being able to build a good portion of the work you do that is coaching. In other words, you're coaching in organizations, you're coaching individuals, you're a coaching educator perhaps, you're spending a lot of time in coaching. And I'm curious as to, at this point, and I'm just going to pay attention here, I'm going to now stop the poll. I'm going to end the poll. And let's see, just so we know, what's the makeup of this webinar today. So there's about 41% who are credentialed coaches. Congratulations. 34 no, and 24% are in process. In other words, they're working their way towards fulfilling the requirements of becoming of achieving a credential, a coaching credential. We've got, we've got 28% that's less than a year. We've got the biggest group is 1 to 3 years. Fabulous. And then we've got some 24% who are 6 years plus. You 6 years plus people, I welcome any of your comments as well. And please feel free to say anything you want in the chat area. But of course, it might mean I might call on you too, so just be prepared. The other thing is, and here's what's interesting. There's 10% internal, 45% external, and a blend of both is around 31%. And we're also seeing a growth in HR, talent development, manager, director people. So that's showing up here as well. And then the manager leader, 28% are doing that as well. And there could be a mix of a number of those pieces. So thank you I hope you can, did I share the results? I hope you can see it. Sandra, is everybody able to see the poll? Can you
Yes,
just?
we can now.
Okay, I forgot to share it. All right, great. So now you can see the makeup of our class, or our webinar for today. And but I am curious. What do you think of this? And Mark, what do you think of these biggest challenges? Would you say that makes sense? What are you experiencing out there?
Well, when I look at the survey, and I'm just exploring this, those challenges that are there are really that marketplace confusion. I almost see the marketplace confusion in alignment with attracting the clients because of the challenge of what is coaching, and getting the clarity of even going into organizations that suggest that they use coaching, and then once you explore that with them, they realize what they're doing is not really coaching. They're more directive. so their own understanding within many organizations of what coaching is and isn't
Mm-hmm.
clear within that itself. And I think that's a challenge, that there's improvement due to the number of HR people that are actually going through coach training. And I'm seeing an increase of internal coaching to help facilitate that growth internally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I also see someone else who's also an experienced coach, and Helen. If you're willing, I would love to have you share what you were saying in the chat. Oh, awesome. So what I need to do then is I need to just find you on my list, and bear with me here. I want to see where you are, because it should be fairly, there we are. There we are. And I'm going to promote you to a panelist so that you can actually speak. So Helen, hi. Thank you so much. So Helen is also a very experienced coach. Just unmute yourself if you can see where that
Yep.
is, or maybe,
Yeah.
good, perfect. And you said you're seeing the marketplace confusion and the attracting clients, building a business quite frequently. Can you say
Yeah.
a bit more about that, what your
Mm.
experience is?
Sure. I mean, certainly the marketplace confusion in terms of what coaches actually do. So often I'm in networking events at organizations talking about what I do. And you talk about the fact that you're a coach, and people's assumption very often is from a mentor perspective or a performance coach, but in terms of giving advice and direction, as you would in terms of, okay, so let's get Harry better at this job, and this is what he needs to do. And, the understanding of a true coach is growing, but I still think there's an awful lot of work that we can do to help promote the value of what a true coach can really bring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that confusion then links directly to attracting clients and being able to build a business. I think the ability to really explain what you do as a coach, and if possible, just to give a quick demo, even if it's just like laser coaching for 5-10 minutes, that can be really powerful in helping someone to understand, okay, so this is what I would get if I worked with you as a coach. So
excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. And thank you, Helen. And please feel, if it's okay, I'm going to keep you as a panelist, because you might have something else to jump in. And I'm also thinking there may be a few other people who are, I'm curious, is anybody else having that experience? And don't worry, I'm not necessarily going to call on everybody, but I know we've got some newer coaches, some coaches who have been in this for less than a year, or 1 to 3 years, and curious as to any comments they would like to make as well, because this is what the focus, or I want to use the rest of our time on, is really getting into this area, because I think it's really important. And I know actually it's a huge opportunity. And it's also, Helen, what you were saying, and Mark, what you were saying as well, I too, I've been in it a little longer, but I too have experienced that as well. And so I think there's a huge opportunity to develop ways of educating the public and educating organizations about this, and having that as part of your whole process, whether or not, frankly, you're an internal or an external. But here's I wanted to also mention some mistakes to avoid, because we talked about that, and I see this one I have seen so many times, and that is being unrealistic around the time it takes. That when you get into this, it's a profession, it's a growing profession, and most of the people I have seen usually either they have a job, they have a part-time job doing something. And I know certainly when I got into coaching, I had a family to support. And, you know, there was no way I could just go, even though I wanted to. Well, the heck with that, you know, doing that, I'll just do coaching. And the only problem is wouldn't be able to pay for living and because it takes time. So that one is really critical, is having a plan of attack around that and being realistic about that. I know there are some people who, lucky for them, can move in fairly quickly, but that is the exception versus the rule. And the other thing, couple other things, is no marketing. The person is not prepared to market, whether or not they're internal or external, or a blend of both. You cannot be a secret. You have to market yourself. We'll talk a bit more about that and what that can look like. No operational systems. In other words, they don't have a bookkeeper. They don't have somebody. They don't even have a structure for their business. Forms, documents, ways of contracting, loads and loads of how are you going to communicate with each other? There's a whole variety of pieces around that. And the other one I've seen a lot is people not prepared to invest in coaching for themselves and hiring a coach to help them and support them at least part of the time. And I know we all have budgets and we all have challenges with that. And I have seen that time and time again, where people want to create a coaching business or integrate it into the work they do, but they're not investing in doing that. And so I'm curious, for the people that are succeeding and are moving along, and Helen's there and Mark's there, how long? What's realistic? What's realistic? What would you say would be realistic in terms of timing? And I see. I'm just aware that there's also some chat comments too. I would be curious to hear some words that experience have used that gets more attention. Shannon. Okay, and we'll keep moving through this because this is great. And Helen touched on it, and I'm gonna just mention it, and this speaks to the educating. The real truth about this, or the real important thing, is that when you get into coaching, you need to be prepared to educate. You need to become really a coaching educator and educate people about the value of coaching and help them understand what it is and how it differentiates itself from consulting, perhaps from other helping professions. That is going to be extremely important. So what is it that you're going to do to ensure that when you start speaking to the public, and Helen was talking about it and she touched on it about a coaching demo, I use that all the time. In fact, it's a bit scary to attempt it at first, but look at Helen. She had the courage to do it. Mark, have you done it?
Yeah, it's been a stable of helping facilitate the understanding of what it is and what it isn't. So bringing those, as an example, bringing what might be a traditional manager's conversation versus coaching conversation. So doing it with, real scenarios of what people may think it is, and it is a risk. You got to be comfortable doing it, and it's paid off significantly in people's understanding.
And I'm just also good, and it certainly worked for me. And now you need to also have, which is important, what are the benefits? What's the ROI on this? And I'm going to move to a slide that I think will be useful for us as we move along, which are strategies for success. What's going to support you in succeeding at this? What I really want to emphasize is credible data. Now, and I also, and what I mean by that, what's the value? What's it going to do? And a lot of people will say to me, well, I'm just a brand new coach. Get some stories going. Get some value generated by people that you are working with now, whether it's people that you're working possibly pro bono or, you know, at a modest amount. What is the value that they're gaining, and measure that? And it could be qualitatively versus quantitatively. In other words, you're going to have some of that. The other thing is that there's loads of information out there on the internet, and the ICF has a ton of information on their website, where you can put together a short synopsis of what can happen as a result of using coaching for the organization, for the individual. But you're going to have to put something together. And Mark and Helen have touched on as well the benefit of the coaching demo. And what I mean by that is literally in the moment while you're speaking with people, that you literally start to coach them and use a coach approach with them so that they get to experience it. Because one of the most potent ways is for them to have an opportunity to experience. And I'm just noticing, I know I saw something from Jim Hogan, who is, on your specific niche market. And Jim, I'm wondering, Jim, if you would be willing, if it's okay if I put you in as promote you to a panelist, would you be okay with that? Because I think what you're touching on is very, very important. And I'm just looking to see if he said anything, and hopefully he's there. Excellent, he's there. Okay. So Jim, I've just made you a panelist, and I'm curious. This is a very interesting thing that you said. Say more. Could you say more about it?
Sure. It's very hard to be a generalist. If someone says, and by the way, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
Some of you know, got to know Allison very well, and Mark was one of my coaches, and Sandra has always been the rock behind you, right, Allison?
Oh, thank you. Yes, she is. She has. And Jim, I apologize. I just suddenly threw you here. Jim is a coach, and he's working at creating his coaching business as we speak.
Yes, and it is. I should have started this 10 years ago, but we won't go down that road. However, getting the right training was a big piece, and Allison and Coaching Out of the Box has really helped. The hardest part for me was defining my market. And that took a lot of discussion with people around. You know, if you say, hey, I'm a coach, well, what does that mean? People can't grab and really understand that. One of the chat things said, you know, what value do you deliver? I deal with the growing leadership. And the millennial sales managers is really who I'm targeting. And when you look at that, I mean, that is the future of business. You know, how do they manage themselves? How do they become leaders? And it's really, it took a lot of discussion. And I know Laurie is on the line here too, and she and I are doing some coaching together, and she's helped me through a lot of these pieces. And until I could really put my hand around that, so when I go to marketing or networking events, I get to talk about that, and people can, whether they're the right person or not, at least they can identify it, instead of going, oh, you're a coach, oh, you're a life coach. Well, you know, let's talk about that. You know, what is it that's going on in your life, and let's see where that is. We all end up being life coaches because we know the personal gets dumped into everything nowadays, but that's about it.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And so when you say you had to define your market, how long did that take? You said it took a long time, but can you quantify that? What kind of time did you put into that?
A couple false starts, not being able to articulate, and
Yes.
also I look at my history is in sales, so I understand the psyche, and looking at who's being served, talking to people, a couple different markets. Leadership is such a large field that you say, okay, I'm a leadership coach. Well, you know, people can't get their arms around that. But if I can identify and say, I work with sales teams to help their leaders build
Yeah.
great, powerful teams. We do that through not just the one-to-one coaching, but the coaching culture and developing that within their realm. And people can understand that.
Yes, exactly. You know what you're describing, and I see Helen's comment as well in the chat, and is and I see, we've got somebody raising their hand. Hang on a second, Janice, I'll get to you in a sec. What you need to do is make it as easy as possible for people to do business with you. Jim is absolutely touching on very critical points. Helen as well is. And also, earlier I was talking about the operational side. Just bear with me. I want to go back to this one. No operational systems. You got to make it easy for people to do business with you, whether they're hiring them themselves. And by the way, it's grown by, it's not, it's growing more and more where organizations are going to hire you. And so it's not certainly individuals do, but it's where the growth we're seeing more and more is with the organizations hiring external coaches or using coaches internally or a mix of both. And like Jim is basically talking about. And so you want to make it easy for people to do business with you. So how is that going to work? Literally, how you have to be able to say, here is how I work, and explain that. Have an agreement that you will have with them. Some organizations will also have created their own, for example, or they'll have certain requirements, but being set up to do that. So in my case, and this is going back a while, I was hired initially by individuals. So I had to, how are they going to pay me? So nowadays we have fabulous, you can have a merchant credit card account, you can set that up, but or PayPal or something that you're going to use that's going to work for you. Make it easy. Don't make it hard for people to do that. And in what Jim's saying is describe what it is that you're going to do and the process that you're going to use. And of course, when we touched on a little bit earlier, I just want to emphasize this, also remind them of your education and remind them of what you bring to coaching, because what I learned is people will hire you because they want what you have. They believe that you have something they want. They're going to have to leverage your background. Don't be shy about that. You've got to actually tell them. And I'm just looking for Janice to see if I can find Janice, because I saw Janice, you had your, bear with me here, Janice, I'm just JK. I'm just going to find you. Is it okay, Janice, if I put you up to a panelist? You just got to answer in that chat area because we need you to hear your question. I hope that's okay. Yes, great. All right. So I've promoted you, Janice. So Janice, tell me, what's your question? And you just need to unmute your mic.
Okay, well,
Great. Hi.
hi everyone. Well, it was Jim's comment there, in talking about niche. Well, my niche is project leaders, and one of the challenges is I am very experienced in project and so I have a lot of street credibility and education chops and things like that. So it's a little bit challenging because people anchor on what, if they decide up front what they see you as, it's very difficult to undo that. So if they're seeing me as someone who can advise them, and I have, because of all of this experience and everything, it's very difficult for me to undo it and say, oh, wait, I'm delivering coaching sessions now. Yeah. So
Right. Okay. So Janice, I'm wondering if it would be okay for a moment if you and I have a back and forth around this, because my guess is that could be resonating with a number of people today, because they already see you as a project manager. Would that be okay?
yeah.
Okay. So if I'm understanding correctly, currently, the challenge is that when you talk to them, or share with me what you currently do when you're working to engage somebody in coaching, just a bit.
Well, what is happening, that can be a proactive or just, recognizing opportunities in the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the proactive front, I can, more easily say up front, and I can see this is how I help. But it's when people are more aware of what I already have done in the past, then it becomes challenging, because immediately they anchor on that, and they're like, and it's very much a confusion between advice and yeah. So the conversation is, then I feel like, oh, I'm trying to undo, and how do I start that conversation to switch it in the moment.
So I'm wondering, Janice, so far, what, if anything, has helped? What if anything has been successful?
Well, I don't think I've had much success, because a lot of the groups, there is a strong bias to valuing, the expertise kind of thing, and yeah.
Okay, so it's really, the challenge is, how do I step out of being known as an expert and people wanting me to advise them and tell them? How do I do that?
Yeah, exactly.
With the people that I'm looking to work with, what is it that could be possible for me to do around that? Okay, and so I'm also seeing, I wondered if it is easier to seek out okay, perfect. This is great. And I just want to share a little something. Janice, thank you so much for bringing this up. Big, common challenge. I had it too, and have had it, because when I first got into coaching, I had a background as a business person and also in the real estate arena. So what happened was, I was attracting, and it naturally made sense, people who were in real estate who wanted to work with me because of my background and my experience. And one of the things that was very common is they just wanted me to tell them what to do. And yes, let's be realistic here. You are going to use that at times. You are going to because they want what you have. It's how you do it. It's how you move through it. And my challenge precisely. So what I tried to do, and it took some I was clunky. I was bumpy. Is, first of all, I would speak to real estate organizations about coaching, the value of coaching. I would do coaching demonstrations. In other words, I would use some of those people and literally do a coaching demonstration, and it scared me half to death, to be honest. Initially, I admit it, but boy, did it grow me as a coach to do that right up in front. The other thing is, as I am working with the person, or as I was communicating, I was being more coach-like. So a project manager or a project advisor, what does a coach-like approach look like as a project advisor or project manager?
Mhm.
Just the same as for me in real estate is what would being more coach-like as a real estate person or someone coaching a real estate person, what would that look like? And I bit by bit started using more open-ended questions, started identifying, for example, Janice, you know a coaching model. So in other words, what is it that would have, I've got about 10 minutes here. Let's have 10 minutes. I'm using this as an example. What would be of value at the end of the time? Literally identifying, putting your process in place and being more coach-like. I'm just curious as to how's that landing with you, Janice?
Yeah, I think, you're right. I think I need to do some intentional work beforehand to make sure I'm anchored in that. And yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm, why give yourself time, have credible data, have a toolkit, leverage your current position, which is what, in a way, it's what you're doing. Jim, I'm guessing you're doing, Helen, Mark, everybody's doing that. Speak about coaching and know the benefits, but telling people, literally standing there and telling people all the time. I'm telling you, I could use a word and I won't, but it's hard. It's the more you can model coaching and be more coach-like. So in other words, obviously you want to have some credible data. You want to have some of that because everybody needs that. But I'm wondering if somebody said that to you, so what is it? What's the gap right now between where you are in the challenges that you're dealing with and where you want to be? What would you like to see happen in 3 months? And use that approach as you're communicating with the person. How does that sound?
Yeah. And like you say, if I consciously think about, again, it's exactly modeling that. I like that.
Right.
Modeling coaching.
And I mean, and one of our core guiding principles in our coaching model that you've experienced is, it sounds like I've got all these people coming to talk about it, and I didn't intentionally plan this, is to be curious. Find out more about them. Yes, and I'm seeing Mark. Mark, jump in with this one because this one's a good one. Please go ahead.
No, you sure you want to get me going on this one? Janice, you know me, right? So
yeah.
This, I think it's a really important, and it's such a distinction of, all those coaching practices and all the things we go through is, how do you show up by being fully present and curious? And it's that letting go of that expertise to really be in the best service for whoever it is that you're communicating with. And I found in a lot of my work now is about how do we shift the conversations that need to be had, which allows me to let go of that expertise or how people have seen me in the past and my background and my career versus as someone that has conversations in a different way. So this piece has made a significant shift and difference in my work, is being able to support people by having conversations, and it allows me to let go of being the expert because we're talking about conversations, not necessarily content. So.
Right. What is that? How's that landing for you, Janice?
Yeah, and like I say, I see that's an important comment from Mark there, to pay attention to the transition. You have to empathize with, they're seeing you in a different way, and it's, you know, it takes some empathy on my part to understand that too and be curious about that. It is a journey, an evolution. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Janice, I'm telling you, you've hit a hot button. It's a good one too. And Kwesi, I know Kwesi, you wanted to say something, and you just need to unmute yourself, Kwesi, because Kwesi's got a comment to make about what works for him.
Hi, Alison.
Hi, Kwesi.
Hi. Thanks for putting this.
And Kwesi is another very experienced coach who has been enormously successful at bringing coaching to large organizations and having it be successful. So anyway, go ahead, Kwesi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
What I've found to be helpful, and I've just had some folks reach out to me from other side of the country to help some of their directors, and it's about just, I ask questions. I truly believe in coming from a place of curiosity, just letting my natural curiosity ask questions about the things that are on their mind that's keeping them up at night or aggravating them or creating a pinch point. And I just ask questions and listen to their responses to help form the next questions. So that forces me to listen very intently to what they're saying, not only to the content, but to the pace, the tone, the pitch, but also listen for things that are not being said or inconsistencies. And then I just simply ask questions. And then they typically get to a place of either one, awareness, of a different perspective, or, hey, didn't think about that, or whatever. And then I say, we've just had a coaching conversation. That's what coaching can do. It's to help you find an answer that works for you within your context, not what works for me or someone else, but helps you where you're at right now.
Yeah. This is such a rich conversation around this that I so appreciate people's comments who are in it, who are right there in the trenches, have been in the trenches, and really it's coming around. Yes, you have to have your ducks in order. You have to have your data. You have to have all, your marketing. You can't be a secret. You've got to get out there. But it's in this interaction and how we communicate that is so potent. And I also, which is of course really, if you cannot model it and literally live it. But the other thing about all of this and the beauty of it is that it's an opportunity. It's a beautiful opportunity to shift the way you communicate when you're speaking to groups, when you're speaking to individuals. It's a huge opportunity. Sorry, I'm hearing a voice. Somebody sounds like somebody just jumped in. No?
No.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yes.
Let me make just one more quick point. And the thing that I don't know why it seems to, it resonates with people, but it's so simple, and it is just be who you are, right? That capacity to connect with someone, just they're seeing the authentic you, and they're feeling the passion or the truth of what you're saying come out from deep within you. That just pulls people in, and I don't know why, but it should be something that's common sense, but somehow I found when we do these programs, people think they need to be like someone or imitate someone else. And I've always said, the most potent tool you have in your coaching practice or your managerial practice is to be who you are. And people will connect with another human being.
Yeah. And people, another term that resonates is people need to be seen, heard, and understood. You can get along. That's what coaching's about. Seeing, hearing, and understanding another human being and supporting them and being with them along a part of their journey is an honorable role to play. And I always have said that when you work with a good coach, whatever there were, like Jim Hogan was saying about niching. He's working in the sales arena, and he described what that was. But when you're working with a good coach, the idea with it is that that person can move farther, faster, easier, quicker than they would have if they hadn't had a coach. Yes, you need to define what is the gap. In other words, what is it you want to accomplish that at the end of, let's just throw out 3 months, I'm just using that as an example, will have you say, this was worth my time. Identify what those things are. Check in with the person as to how is it moving along, and then quantify it as you move along and at the end, and have that person be willing to also recommend, be willing to be a reference, et cetera, and there's so much more to this. And but we've really tied in, you know, we've really connected to a very, very critical piece of this, and we've just touched on it, and I can see so many other topics that we can have more webinars on to support people in succeeding as well. And so I just want to say, we've had some questions, which is great, and I'm just very aware of our time too, and I want to throw out what is next. And obviously we are coaching out of the bar. You know, this is coaching out the box. So we have some things to support you. If you're a brand new coach, you want to get certified, credentialed, we have our fast track. We have a train the trainer, because I'll tell you, becoming a coaching educator as you move through coaching is of huge value, and will really get your coaching chops going as well. And then we have a class for those who are applying for their for an ICF credential if they're not feeling quite ready. As well, I want you to know, talk to me, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk. As you know, I'm a raging advocate for coaching, and you can connect on my calendar. You can connect this way, and again, before we completely sign off, I want to just check it. I see Janice. I get it now. Love the shared comments and strategies. Is it helpful? Oh, Simone. Necessary, define a niche, since a coach should be able to coach anyone. I think Jim was touching on it. You're going to have to start somewhere. And so what is it that you're promising you're going to do, or what is it that you're going to offer, and define that, and also leverage what you're you know, who you are and what you bring to coaching. And so it may be, and I'm just using this as an example, I'm not saying this is the right answer, but perhaps, Simone, it could be you're working with people on their careers, or you're working with people who are in transition. Maybe they've got a new role, and you are going to help them through that. These are times when people can quite often hire a coach. Anyway, that's a huge topic as well. So I just want to thank everybody for coming today. We will be following it up with the recording and the slide presentation. And I just really want to thank the people. Mark, thank you so much for willing to jump in right away and share your wisdom and brilliance, as well as Jim and Janice and Helen. I know she was there a little bit ago, and Kwesi as well. And so thank you so much. And everybody, have a great rest of your week. And what if everyone had coaching skills? What would the world be like? Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.